Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the Digby Mary Magdalen play, so-called. I mean, it's basically, you should just call it Mary Magdalene because, you know, it's a play about Mary Magdalene, but it's usually disambiguated by calling it the Digby play of Mary Magdalene or the Digby Mary Magdalen play, because that is what the document collection it comes from is known as, of which many other medieval texts also survive and come to us, including many others that we have done on this series of first look readings, including The Killing of the Children, Christ's Burial, Christ's Resurrection. Do recommend those, they're rather good. And also, what's the other one? What was the other one? Wisdom, and there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. Conversion of St. Paul. Quite like Conversion of St. Paul. There's a horse. Anyway, the Mary Magdalene play does all sorts of things that will be familiar to you. Also does things that are slightly different, as it takes Mary Magdalene's story and expands upon it from other sources extra biblically. To dive into the text, we've got quite a lot of text to get through today. We have in the room reading so many parts. We've got so many parts for this half crammed in together. Hopefully we won't get ourselves too confused. Reading Provost, Pilate, Pride, and First Soldier is...
Hello, my name is Lynn Freitas. I'm a college composition teacher living in the Northwestern United States.
And just note, depending on which edition you may be following, it could be down as First Knight. It depends on personal preference. Reading Cyrus, First Philosopher, Covetise, Pride, Covetise, Wrath, rather, Taverner and King is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian, and at the moment I'm in Hull.
Reading Bad Angel as well as Jesus today is...
Briony, Sparrow, Confused in Lincolnshire.
Reading Martha, Herod, Envy, Simon, Various Plural Disciples, and Queen is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor in New Jersey.
Reading Magdalene or Magdalene, depending on what the text wants us to say, Second Philosopher, and Sensuality is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu, based in Romford.
Reading Scribe, First Sergeant, Flesh, Good Angel, and Third Soldier is...
Hi, Alan Scott, based in Suffolk.
Reading Lazarus, A Messenger, The World, Lechery, Second Devil and a Jew is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm always confused everywhere, so that's fine.
Reading Emperor, a Second Sergeant, Satan / the Devil, and Second Soldier is...
I'm Lois Potter, retired academic living in London.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I'll be reading the few stage directions there are and generally trying to disambiguate where scenes may live. Just general warning, as with any medieval text, especially biblical ones, there are always risks of creeping anti-Semitism and or other problematic issues with how the worldview is presented. We do not endorse those views, but they may be present in the text. Yes, also there's interesting questions about how this play particularly would have been staged. Which we will hopefully be able to disentangle a little bit as we go on. But we'll be reading reasonably chunky bits of text because we've got a lot of text to get through to get a sense of it. It's going to dance around locations a lot. That's as much spoilers as I'm going to say. So we're going to start in what's probably Rome, certainly a more Italianate setting, as we go to the Imperator the Emperor.
I command silence in the pain of forfeiture to all mine audience present, general. Of my most highest and mightiest volunty, I will it be known to all the world universal, that of heaven and hell chief ruler am I, to whose magnificence none standeth equal. For I am sovereign of all sovereigns, subjugal unto mine empire, being incomparable Tiberius Caesar, whose power is potential. I am the blood royal, most of sovereignty. Of all emperors and kings, my birth is best, and all regions obey my mighty volunty. Life and limb and goods all be at my request. So of all sovereigns, my magnificence most mightiest may not be againsaid of friend nor of foe, but all abide in judgment and rule of my list. All grace upon earth from my goodness cometh fro, and that brings all people in bliss so. For the most worthiest will I rest in my seat.
Sir, from your person groweth much grace.
Now, for thine answer, Belial, bless thy face. Mickle prosperity I gin to purchase. I am wounden in wealth from all woe. Hark thou, Provost, I give thee in commandment all your people preserve in peaceable possession. If any there be to my gods disobedient, dissever those harlots and make to me declaration. And I shall make all such to die, those preachers of Christ's incarnation.
Lord of all lords, I shall give you information.
Oh, how all the world obeyeth my domination. That person is not born that dare me disobey. Scribe, I warn you, see that my laws in all your parts have due obeisance. Inquire and ask each day that dawns if in my people be found any variance contrary to me in any chance, or with my golden gods grouch or groan. I will mar such harlots with murder and mischance. If any such remain, put him in reprieve, and I shall you relieve.
It shall be done, Lord, without any let or without doubt.
Lord and lad to my law doth lout. Is it not so? Say you all with one shout.
And
Aye,
here
my
answereth all the people at once.
Yay, my lord, yay!
Yeah.
So, ye froward folks, now am I pleased. Set wine and spices, counsel full clear. Now have I told you my heart, I am well pleased. Now let us sit down all and make good cheer.
And we go to a different location. Here enter Cyrus, the father of Mary Magdalen.
Emperor and kings and conquerors keen, earls and barons and knights that been bold, birds in my bower so seemly to seen, I command you at once my hest to hold. Behold my person glistering in gold, seemly beseen of all other men. Cyrus is my name, by cliffs so cold, I command you all obedient to been. Whoso will not in bale I him bring, and knit such caitiffs in knots of care. This castle of Magdalen is at my wielding, with all the country both less and more, and Lord of Jerusalem. Who against me done dare? At Bethany at my bidding be, I am set in solace from all sighing sore, and so shall all my posterity, thus for to leaven in rest and royalty. I have here a son, that is to me full true, no comelier creature of God's creation. Two amiable doctors, full bright of blee, full glorious into my sight, and full of delectation. Lazarus, my son, in my respection, here is Mary, full fair and full of femininity, and Martha, full of beauty and of delicity, full of womanly mirrors and benignity. They have fulfilled my heart with consolation. Here is a collection of circumstance, to my cognition never such another, as be demonstration knit in continence, save a lonely my lady that was their mother. Now, Lazarus, my son, which art their brother, the lordship of Jerusalem I give thee after my decease, and Mary, this castle a lonely and none other, and Martha shall have Bethany, I say express. These gifts I grant you without an lease, while that I am in good mind.
Most reverend father, I thank you heartily of your great kindness showed unto me. Ye have granted such a live load worthy me to restrain from all necessity. Now, good Lord, and his will it be, grant me grace to live to thy pleasance, and against him so to rule me, that we may have joy without invariance.
That God of peace and principal counsel, more sweeter is thy name than honey by kind. We thank you, Father, for your gifts royal, out of pains of poverty us to unbind. This is a preservative from straitness we find, from worldly labours to my comforting, for this livelihood is able for the daughter of a king, this place of pleasance, thee sooth to say.
O ye good Father of great degree, thus to depart with your riches, considering our lowliness and humility, us to save from worldly disestres. Ye show us points of great gentleness, so meekly to maintain us to your grace. Hey, in heaven advanced mote you be high, in bliss to see that Lord's face, when ye shall hence pass.
Now I rejoice with all my mights, to enhance my children it was my delight. Now, wine and spices, ye gentle knights, unto these ladies of gentleness.
And here they shall be served with wine and spices. And we shift back again to the world of the Emperor.
Sir Provost and Scribe, judges of my realm, my messenger will I send into far country unto my seat of Jerusalem, unto Herod, that regent there under me, and unto Pilate, judges of the country. Mine intent will I him teach. Take heed, thou Provost, my precept written be, and say I command him, as they will be outreach, if there be any in the country against my Lord doth preach, or against my gods any trouble tells, that thus against my laws rebels, as he is regent and in that realm dwells, and holdeth his crown of me by right, if there be any harlots that against me make replication, or any muttering against me make with malination.
Sir, of all this they shall have information, so to uphold your renown and right.
Now, messenger, withouten tarrying, have here gold unto thy fee. So bear these letters to Herod the king, and bid him make enquirance in every country, as he is judge in that country being.
Sovereign, your errand it shall be done full ready, in all the haste that I may, for to fulfill your bidding. I will not spare, neither by night nor by day.
And here the messenger goes toward Herod.
In the wild, waning world, peace all at once. No noise, I warn you, for grieving of me. If you do, I shall hurl off your heads by Mohammed's bones, as I am true king to Mohammed so free. Help, help, that I had a sword. Fall down, ye faitors, flat to the ground. Heave off your hoods and hats, I command you all. Stand barehead, ye beggars. Who made you so bold? I shall make you know your king royal. Thus will I be obeyed through all the world, and whoso will not, he shall be had and hold, and so to be cast in cares cold, that work in any wonders against my magnificence. Behold these rich rubies, red as fire, with the goodly green pearl full set about. What king is worthy or equal to my power? Or in this world who is more had in doubt than is the hey name of Herod, king of Jerusalem, Lord of Alpay, Assay, and Tyre, of Abiron, Berabi, and Bedlam? All these been under my governance. Lo, all these I hold without reprobation. No man is to me equal, save alonely the emperor, Tiberius, as I have in provostication. How say the philosophers by my rich reign? Am I not the greatest governor? Let me understand. What can ye say?
Sovereign, and it please you, I will express, ye be the ruler of this region, and most worthy sovereign of nobleness, that ever in Judah bare domination. But, sir, Scripture giveth information, and doth rehearse it verily, that child shall remain of great renown, and all the world of him should magnify. et ambulabant gentes in lumine tuo et reges, in splendore ortus tui.
And what sayest thou?
The same verifieth my book, as how, as the scripture doth me tell, of a mighty duke shall rise and reign, which shall reign and rule all Israel. No king against his worthiness shall obtain, the which in prophecy hath great eloquence. Non offeretur sceptrum de Juda et dux de femore eius, donec venient qui mittendus est.
Ah, out. Now am I grieved all with the worst. Ye dastards, ye dogs, the devil mote you draw, with flaying flaps I bid you to a feast. A sword, these lurdens were slaw. Ye langbanes, losels, forsake ye that word, that cateth shall be caught, and sure I shall him flay. For him many mo shall be marred with murder.
My sovereign lord, dismay you right not. They are but fools, their eloquence wanting, for in sorrow and care soon they shall be caught. Against us they can make no distanding.
My lord, all such shall be brought before your audience and liven under your domination, or else damned to death with mortal sentence, if we am get under our governation.
Now this is to me a gracious exhortation, and greatly rejoiceth to my sprites indeed. Thou these soughts against me make replication. I will suffer none to spring of that kindred. Some voice in my land shall spread, privily or pertly in my land about. Well, I have such men I need not to dread, but that he shall be brought under without doth.
And here cometh the Emperor's messenger, thus saying to Herod.
Hail, Prince of Bounteousness, hail, mighty Lord to magnify, hail, most of worship of to express, hail, righteous ruler in thy regency, my sovereign Tiberius, chief of chivalry, his sovereign son hath sent to you here. He desireth you and prayeth on each party to fulfill his commandment and desire.
Here he shall take the letters unto the king.
Be he secure, I will not spare, for to accomplish his commandment, with sharp swords to pierce them bare, in all countries within this regent, for his love to fulfill his intent. None such shall from our hands start, for we will fulfill his royal judgment, with sword and spear to pierce through the heart. But messenger, receive this letter with, and bear it unto Pilate sith.
My lord, it shall be done full with. In haste I will me speed.
And the messenger presumably rattles off as we now shift focus to Pilate.
Now royally I reign in robes of riches, keep and known both nigh and far, for judge of Jerusalem, the truth to express, under the Emperor Tiberius Caesar. Therefore I rede you all beware, ye do no prejudice against the law. For, an ye do, I will not spare, till ye have judgment and be hanged and draw. For I am Pilate, promissory and president, all renegade robbers' empowerment. I put him to pain, I spare for no pity. My sergeants seemly, what say ye? Of this rehearsal I will not spare. Pleasantly, sirs, answer to me, for in my heart I shall have the less care.
As ye have said, I hold it for the best. If any such among us, may we know.
For to give him judgment I hold it best, and so shall ye be dread of high and low.
Now I am restored to felicity.
And here cometh the Emperor's messenger to Pilate.
Hail, royal in robes of riches. Hail, present thou prince's peer. Hail, judge of Jerusalem, the truth to express. Tiberius the Emperor sendeth writing here, and prayeth you, as you be his lover dear, of this writing to take advisement in strengthening of his laws clear, as he has set you in the state of judgment.
And here Pilate taketh the letters with great reverence.
Now by Mars so mighty I shall set many a snare, his laws to strength in all that I may. I rejoice of his renown and of his welfare, and for tidings I give thee this gold today.
Ah, largesse, Lord, I cry this day, for this is a gift of great degree.
Messenger, unto my sovereign thou say, on the most special wise recommend me.
And here avoideth the messenger, and here will pause, having affected. I mean, messenger, you must be quite tired now. I mean, it's a really interesting question. How this stage setup exists. It's looking like we're going from different stages around a space, which we've encountered before more than once now. And that, yes, this messenger is travelling from the Emperor to Herod to Pilate. And we have at some location the castle of Magdalene where other things happen. So we've got a lot of things going on. The Emperor, Herod, and Pilate are all making very similar boasts. I think Herod's winning on the bling front. Herod seems quite keen on the jewels adorned there, but they're quite similar figures. There's not you can sort of put a Rizzler paper between them. Thoughts from the room about this sort of this. We've been here before in certain ways. Elizabeth,
I think we've got quite an embellished Pilate here, because I always see him as somebody that's kind of stripped back and quite austere. Austere is that's the word I'm looking for. And this one seems quite embellished. It seems like quite like a rival to Herod almost.
We've had most of the Herods, the Pilates we've read so far have been quite stripped back. There are other interpretations of Herod, and this is leaning into that. So yeah, that's excellent. Helen.
The messenger has got his mind firmly fixed on his tip.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you run around from across town for anyway.
I mean, he knows how to get the praise words in early and without any he doesn't hold back on them.
There's no preamble.
Yeah, aren't you great is pretty much what he always says the moment he arrives. Lois, then Alan.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture how this would be done. I mean, it seems the audience must have liked being shouted at by some power figure who tells them to shut up, because I wonder if they're entering through the audience and then going to their scaffolds or something. That would sort of fit with the way that they're talking. Make way, I'm the greatest. I also wondered about the wine and spices at the end of both the first and the second scene. Do you think the audience gets any of that?
Well, yeah, and they are echoing each other in this interesting way of, we conclude one scene with this and a similar thing is happening, but on a slightly lower down social scale. I mean, Cyrus is not poor by any stretch, but he's not obviously emperor. And we've got different statuses being played to a degree. Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, we do seem to be back into alliteration country in a lot of this, particularly with the messenger starting off.
And again, any outdoor setting like this is going to be, wanting to do stuff that carries well. So yeah, fits nicely. Lynn.
Yeah, I was struck by all the boasting done by the Emperor and Herod and Pilate. And there's also, I think, a noticeable contrast with Cyrus, who is a person of some authority, but what he spends his little scene doing is being generous. So it's not a contrast set up there, I think. The other thing that struck me is that this is Tiberius, who was not the emperor at the time of the Passion. That was Octavian, Augustus. So this is his successor. So it's several years later. Would the audience have understood that? I'm just.
Interesting questions about timing of all the events. I think that may be a running thing, but we'll go to Lois, then Rachael.
No, I was just going to say that the crucifixion takes place under Tiberius. I mean, it's the birth of Christ that takes place under Augustus.
And they are talking about this being an existing thing, but then again, there's an interesting question about the logic of all these Christians being about. Is yes, a bit of a mess. Anyway, Rachael.
No, that what Lois just said was what I thought. But yeah, he was also known as, I think, being pretty cruel of a dude, Tiberius.
Yeah. Awful.
Yes.
That's definitely his general rep. His general rep is some of that might be propaganda, but a reasonable percentage of it, he wasn't necessarily a nice chap. Eric, then Alan.
I like the idea that Cyrus gets Pilate gets the letters, and there's that note with great reverence. So basically, he's such a fanboy.
Well, it is the Emperor,
yeah.
so it's important to make sure the messenger sees he's doing the correct things. I would have thought, yeah. Sorry, I stepped over you. Any more, Eric?
That was basically my point, and the fact that the messenger is basically going down the scale is quite interesting as well.
Yeah. Anyone else? Otherwise, we will move forward. Did I miss anyone? Alan.
Yeah, I don't think any of the Roman emperors were going to get the Mr. Nice Guy award.
True.
I don't think it went with the job.
No, by and large, any kind of large-scale ruler will be, doing some unpleasant things as part of what they do. Elizabeth.
I just wanted to say I like the way the play begins. I like the way it drops us right into the middle of the action. And the long speeches don't feel long. They're actually really well written. They feel quite succinct and quite compact. I love the range of characters that we see straight away as well, because usually by this point in the play, we're still waiting to see quite a lot of people. But with this one, we've seen quite a few characters already, and I like that.
And the fact that they're all sort of within a range, they have a relationship with each other, even though we're going from a different location, we still feel like we're part of a narrative, and they're all fitting together. And the fact they're a bit similar but bit different, I think helps. And so then we have this contrast with the family Magdalene, shall we call it that, or Magdalene, who are doing very different work. They're very different. Selection of people. Anyway, we need to collect more evidence, so let's let it rattle forward. I should probably have paused after this little scenette coming, actually. So we return now to the family Magdalene, and Cyrus, spoilers here, taketh his death.
Help, help, I stand in dread. Sickness is set unto my side. Help! Death will acquit me my meed. Great God, thou be my guide. How am I troubled both back and side? Now withly help me to my bed. This rendeth my ribs. I shall never go nor ride. The dent of death is heavier than lead. Lord, Lord, what shall I do this tide? Our gracious God, have ruth on me, in this world no longer to abide. I bless you, my children. God mot with us be.
And here avoideth Cyrus suddenly, i.e. he leaves the space, and then saying Lazarus.
Alas, I am set in great heaviness. There is no tongue my sorrow may tell, so sore I am brought in distress. In faintness I falter, for this fray fell, this duress will let me no longer dwell, but God of grace soon me redress. How my pains don me repel. Lord, withstand this duress.
The Invictissimus, God that ever shall reign, be his help and soul's succor. To whom it is most needful to complain, he to bring us out of our dolour. He is most mightiest governor, from sorrowing us to restrain.
How I am set in sorrow sad, that long my life I may not endure. These gracious pains make me near mad. Under chlor is now my father's cure, that sometime was here full merry and glad. Our Lord's mercy be his measure, and defend him from pain sad.
Now, sisters, our Father's will we will express. This castle is ours with all the fee.
As head and governor as reason is, and on this wise abiding with you will we will not dissever whatso befall.
Now, brother and sister, welcome ye be, and thereof specially I pray you all.
And we're going to leave them. I don't know whether they exit or not, or whether they just stay in their castle. But here shall enter the King of the world, the flesh, and the devil with the 7 deadly sins, a bad angel and a good angel. Presumably there's a proportional representation system or something. Thus saying the world.
I am the world, worthiest that ever God wrought, and also I am the primate portraiture, next heaven if the truth be sought, and that I judge me to scripture. And I am he that longest shall endure, and also most of domination. If I be his foe, who is able to recure? For the wheel of fortune with me hath set his centre. In me resteth the order of the metal 7, the which to the 7 planets are knit full sure. Gold pertaining to the sun, as astronomer Nevin. Silver to the moon, white and pure. Iron unto the Mars that long may endure. The fugitive Mercury unto Mercurius. Copper unto Venus, red in his mirror. The frangible tin to Jupiter, if ye can discuss. On this planet Saturn, full of rancor. This soft metal lead, not of so great pureness. Lo, all this rich treasure with the world doth endure. The 7 princes of hell of great bounteousness. Now who may presume to come to my honor?
Yea, worthy world, ye be grander of gladness to them that dwellen under your domination.
And whoso will not, he is soon set aside, where I Covetise, take ministration.
Of that I pray you make no declaration. Make such to know my sovereignty, and then they shall be framed to make supplication, if that they stand in any necessity.
Here shall enter the King of Flesh, with sloth, gluttony, and lechery. It's going to get a little complicated, by the way, now. A lot of people are reading multiple parts.
I, King of Flesh, flourished in my flowers, of dainties delicious I have great domination. So royal a king was never born in bowers, nor hath more delight, nay more delectation, for I have confirmatives to my confirmation. Diagalonga, Ambra, and also Margariton. All this is on my list against all vexation. All wicked things I will set aside. Clary, pepper long with Granorum paradisi, Zanzibar and cinnamon at every side. Lo, all such dainty delicacies use I. With such dainties I have my bliss. Who will covet more game and glee? My fair spouse Lechery to hulse and kiss. Here is my knight Gluttony, as good reason is, with this pleasant lady to rest by my side. Here is Sloth, and other goodly of to express. A more pleasant company doth nowhere abide.
Oh, you prince, how I am full of ardent lowe, with sparkles full of amorousness. With you to rest fain would I am proud, to show pleasance to your gentleness.
O ye beauteous bird, I must you kiss. I am full of lust to hulse you this tide.
And here shall enter the Prince of Devils in a stage, and hell underneath that stage, thus saying the devil.
Now I, Prince peerless, pricked in pride, Satan your sovereign, set with every circumstance, for I am attired in my tower to tempt you this tide. As a king royal, I sit at my pleasance with wrath and envy at my royal retainance. The boldest in bower I bring to obey, man's soul to besiegen and bring to obeisance. Yea, with tide and time I do all that I may, for at him I have despite that he should have the joy, that Lucifer with many a legion lost for their pride. The snares that I shall set were never set at Troy. So I think to besiege him by every way wide. I shall get him from grace wheresoever he abide, that body and soul shall come to my hold, him for to take. Now, my knights so stout, with me ye shall run in rout, my counsel to take for a scout, whitly that we were went for my sake.
With wrathful wiles we shall her win.
Or with some subtlety set her in sin.
Come off then, let us begin to work in her some break.
Here shall the devil go to the world. So obviously we have various different, we've got the world, we've got flesh, we've got Satan. They're going to start working together. I think that's the basic idea here. So here shall the devil go to the world with his company.
Hail, world, worthiest of abundance, in haste we must a counsel take. Ye must apply you with all your affiance a woman of worship, your servant to make.
Satan, with my counsel I will thee advance. I pray thee, come up unto my tent, where the king of flesh here with his assemblance. Messenger, anon that thou went this tide. Say, the king of flesh with great renown, with his counsel that to him be bound, in all the haste that ever they moan, come as fast as he may ride.
My lord, I am your servant, Sensuality. Your message to Don, I am of glad cheer. Right soon in presence ye shall him see, your will for to fulfill her.
And here he goeth to the flesh, and thus saith.
Hail, lord in land, led with liking. Hail, flesh in lust, fairest to behold. Hail, lord and leader of emperor and king. The worthy world, be way and wood, hath sent for you and your counsel. Satan is assembled with his household, your counsel to have most for avail.
Hence in haste that we were there, let us make no longer delay.
Great mirth to their hearts should you arrear. By my troth I dare safely say.
Here cometh the king of flesh to the world, thus saying.
Hail be you, sovereigns lief and dear. Why so hastily do you for me send?
We are right glad we have you here, our counsel together to comprehend. Now, Satan, say your device.
Sirs, now ye be set, I shall you say. Cyrus died this other day. Now marry his daughter that may, of that counsel, of that castle, beareth the price.
Certainly, sirs, I you tell, if she in virtue still may dwell, she shall be able to destroy hell, but if your counsel may otherwise devise.
Know ye, Lady Lechery, you must done your attendance, for you be flower fairest of femininity. You shall go to our service, and be at her attendance, for ye shall soonest enter, ye beryl of beauty.
Sirs, I obey your counsel in each degree. Straightway thither will I pass.
Spiritus maligni shall come to thee, her to tempt in every place. Now all the 6 that here be, wisely to work, her favor to win, to enter her person by the labor of lechery, that she at the last may come to hell. How, spiritus maligni, thou wottest what I mean. Come out, I say. Hearest not what I say?
Sirs, I obey your counsel in each degree. Straightway thither will I pass. Speak soft, I trot her to tea. I pray thee pertly, make no more noise.
And here shall all the 7 deadly sins besiege the castle till Mary agree to go to Jerusalem. We'll pause there. So yeah, we're getting literally there. A stage direction that to a degree is explicating stuff that's going to be happening over the next few pages. And we had an earlier one that when talking about the first arrival of the king of the world, the flesh and the devil, etc. Only initially the world sort of entered the space. Similar to Pilate, etc. earlier, we seem to have different separate areas where people enter and make their initial appearance, and then they've got to travel to each other and meet up. I've got lots of thoughts on this, but I'll see what the room has to say first. Thoughts on the room about this general procession of sin. They want Mary Magdalene. I managed to make that rhyme. That pleases me. Rachael, I'll go to you first.
I don't know. It feels like it's taking some stuff from Castle of Perseverance, because we have this. Didn't we have a big cast for that? And we also have this, sieging of the castle, and we have World there and all these people. Another interesting thing about this scene is also that I think Sloth too is described as a woman, which is interesting.
Yes, I'll go to Lynn.
Yeah, more bragging, I notice, like more boasting about I'm so powerful, I'm so great. So that seems to be a theme. And I just I appreciate the organization. I mean, I think there's something about the medieval mind that they really wanted to impose order on a chaotic universe. So we're going to sort the deadly sins. We have sins of the world, covetousness and pride, and sins of the flesh, gluttony, lust, and sloth. And then the Satan-associated sins, envy and wrath. So I like the organization. It's very tidy.
Yeah, I mean, you get it's a real question about who's line manager. It's a slightly horizontal structure rather than Satan is just one of the general overseers. I don't know whether that arrangement is exactly the same as in Castle of Perseverance. Obviously, in Castle of Perseverance, we had 3 distinct units there of flesh, world, and Satan, with various associated 7 deadly sins underneath. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I think Rachel's point about that overlap with Castle of Perseverance is very telling. I'm also wondering whether the platforms that these have appeared on they're reusing the Herod Pilate Emperor, because they're using those platforms in a similar sense, and then maybe travelling between them, and then there's a castle in the middle. It could work very nicely within the same staging logic as Castle presented. I mean, basically, if you wanted to do the 2 plays, doing them back to back on the same set would probably work very well. I don't know, maybe later on that all fall apart, but at the moment, the 2 similarities are very striking. Eric.
I was going to say that it's interesting how you've got like the sort of you've got the arrangement of the human world first, and then you've got the sort of, well, not underworld, but like sort of the metaphysical world, if you want to call it that. And it kind of they overlap when Lechery is going to go to Magdalene to marry, which is it basically makes me think of like all the mafia films. Like, yeah, I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in a sense, if they are reusing the same space, there's an interesting logic to the way that underneath these prideful people, you have the underworld of hell and Satan, etc. There's that striking stage direction, Prince of Devils in a stage and hell underneath that stage. I'm assuming in is effectively onto a stage, but unless the stage is being wheeled on, that it's acting more like a wagon than a fixed post. That would be quite interesting if effectively hell enters. That would be a really interesting distinction, actually, to not overlay it too much onto Castle of Perseverance, because it'd be too easy. Maybe that's too easy. Lois.
Yeah, maybe if hell mouth is under that, then that might explain why Satan is calling for the Malasingans, whatever, where are you? It probably emerges from the hell mouth, spectacularly. Fireworks.
Oh, yeah, because, bad angel has to appear. Yeah, where does it come from? Hell, that makes sense. Eric.
I like the idea that sensuality being the messenger also that has the whole "Hail, wonderful person! Hail!" so on and so forth. It's like basically reflecting what we just saw in the human stuff.
And that's the thing, is these could all perhaps they could all literally double. We're talking about there's quite a lot of potential parts. It's not necessarily that big if you actually start thinking about how it might double down. It's more than we've got really in this room at the time, but this room is relatively small today. There's room for lots more manoeuvre there. Any other thoughts before we start besieging a castle? Elizabeth?
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Rachel said about the Castle of Perseverance. I was expecting to see the virtues come on because the similarity between the two plays. And I also really loved what Eric was saying about the metaphysical world kind of almost careening into the physical world. We have the world itself speaking in the text, which is really, really lovely. But I like the kind of clash of the two worlds. I was wondering where the virtues are, because I thought that if they're going to have the vices, that they have to have the virtues to balance it out.
Yeah, and this play is going to then veer off, I think, in a slightly different direction. We will find out. I'm not trying to give too many spoilers, because as I say, this is more about a figure of Magdalene. So we're going to be following elements of the Bible in conjunction with morality play stuff. So it's going to be doing all sorts of things. It's either that, for budgetary reasons, they couldn't afford an additional 7 virtues. I don't see that much coming up. Anyway, so we will move forward as Magdalene is going to encounter Lechery and various others. So here, to recapitulate, shall all the 7 deadly sins besiege the castle till Mary agree to go to Jerusalem? Lechery shall enter the castle with the bad angel, thus saying Lechery.
Hail, lady, most laudable of alliance. Hail, orient of the sun in his reflexity. Midge people be comforted by your benign affiance. Brighter than the board is your beams of beauty. Most debonairious with your angelic delicity.
What person be ye that thus me commended?
Your servant be, I would comprehend.
Your debonairious obedience ravished me to tranquillity. Now, sith ye desire in each degree to receive you, I have great delectation. Ye be heartily welcome unto me. Your tongue is so amiable, divided with reason.
Now, good lady, will ye me express why may there be no gladness to your resort?
For my father I have had great heaviness, when I remember my mind waxeth mort.
Yeah, lady, for all that be of good comfort, for such abusions may breed much disease. Such deceptions putteth pains to export, print you in sports which best doth you please.
Forsooth, ye be welcome to mine audience, ye be my heart's liege. Brother Lazarus, and it be your pleasance, and ye, Sister Martha, also in substance, this place I commend unto your governance, and unto God I you betake.
Now, sister, we shall do your intent in this place to be resident, while ye be absent to keep this place from wretch.
And thus said Lazarus. Here taketh Mary her way to Jerusalem with Luxuria, Lechery, and they shall resort to a tavern, thus saying the Taverner.
I am a taverner, witty and wise, that wines have to sell great plenty. Of all the taverners I bear the prize, that be dwelling within this city. Of wines I have great plenty, both white wine and red that is so clear. Here is wine of malt and malmsey, clary wine and claret and other more. Wine of gilder and of galls, that made in the grom. Wine of wine and vernage I say also. There are no better, as far as ye can go.
Lo, lady, thee comfort and thee succor. Go we near and take a taste. This shall bring your spirits to favor. Taverner, bring us of the finest thou hast.
Here, lady, is wine a repast, to man and woman a good restorative. Ye shall not think your money spent in waste, from studies and heaviness it will you relieve.
In wis, ye say sooth, ye groom of bliss, to me ye be courteous and kind.
Here shall enter a gallant, otherwise pride, who thus says.
Oh, ho, ho, a great new gallant. Wail of thirst, lay that adown. What, ween ye, sirs, that I were a merchant, because I am new come to town? With some pretty tapster would I fain round. I have a shirt of reins and sleeves pennant, a lace of silk for my lady Constant. Ah, how she is beautiful and resplendent. When I am from her presence, Lord, how I sigh. I will vie sovereigns and subjects I disdain. In winter, a stomacher, in summer, none at all. My doublet and my hoses never together abide, ever together abide. I will, or even, be shaven for some ying, with hair again the hair. I love much playing, that maketh me elegant and lusty and like it. Thus I live in the world. I do it for no pride.
Lady, this man is for you, as I see can, to set you in sports and talking this tide.
Call him in, Taverner, as ye my love will hand, and we shall make full merry if he will abide.
How now, my master, Curiosity?
What is your will, sir? What will ye with me?
Here are gentlewomen desire your presence to see, and for to drink with you this tide.
Ah, dear Duchess, my daisy's eye, splendent of color, most of femininity, your sovereign colors set with sincerity, consider my love into your ally, or else I am smite with pains of perplexity.
Why, sir, ween ye that I were a kell?
No, princess, pardon. Ye be my heart's heel. So would to God you would my love feel.
What cause that ye love me so suddenly?
Oh, I must, mine own lady. Your person, it is so womanly. I cannot refrain me, sweet lily.
Sir, courtesy doth it you leer.
Now, gracious ghost withouten peer, much nurture is that ye con, but will ye dance, mine own dear?
Sir, I assent in good manner. Go ye before, I sue you near, for a man at all times beareth reverence.
Now, by my troth, ye be with other teen. Fall apace, Taverner, let us seen sops in wine. How love ye?
As ye done, so doth me. I am right glad that met be we. My love in you ginneth to close.
Now, darling dear, will you do be my reed? We have drunken and ate little bread. Will we walk to another stead?
Even at your will, my dear darling. Though ye will go to the world's end, I will never from you wend, to die for your sake.
And here shall Mary and the gallant avoid, and the bad angel goeth to the world, the flesh and the devil, thus saying the bad angel.
Lorges, lords all at once. Ye have a servant fair and affable, for she is fallen in our grogly grooms. Yar pride, called curiosity, to her is full laudable, and to her he is most praisable, for she hath granted him all his boons. She thinketh his person so amiable, to her sight he is seemlier than any king in thrones.
Ah, how I tremble and trot for these tidings. She is a sovereign servant that hath her fet in sin. Go thou again, and ever be her guide. The laudable life of lechery let her never lin, for of her all hell shall make rejoicing.
Here goeth the bad angel to Mary again.
Farewell, farewell, ye two noble kings this tide, for home in haste I will me dress.
Farewell, Satan, Prince of Pride.
Farewell, seemliness, all sorrows to cease.
Here shall Satan go home to his stage, and Mary shall enter into the place alone, save the bad angel, and all the 7 deadly sins shall be conveyed into the house of Simon the leper. There they shall be arraigned like 7 devils, thus kept close. But we'll come to that in a moment. So anyone playing the morality play bingo will have had the alternative name of Curiosity there. So Pride having a sort of earthly name, alternative name to be known as a gallant in human form. And of course, falling into sin, the being lured in by alcohol as a gateway drug. The worst things happen following that. So yeah, and dancing, of course. Some dancing is available, so there might be more business with the dancing than that which we had here. Magdalene possibly getting more inebriated as time goes on, and of course Magdalene has my so far favourite name. Your debonair's obedience ravish me to tranquility. I mean, that's quite an opening address to someone, isn't it? It's just, wow, hi. That's a chat up line to try and use in a bar. Anyway, Lois, then Alan, then Briony.
I think that line is an example of what they call the aureate style. I mean, lots of Latinate phrases all put together like that. Curiosity, I think, doesn't really mean, wanting to know things so much. It means taste for the unusual, rare, exotic, something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to translate because curious in other early modern texts means sort of elaborately decorated, right? Or cleverly intricate or something like that. Curious knotted garden, so intricate and overly busy. Curious is a very hard word to translate into our vocabulary.
But it fits with that whole thing that he's talking about his clothing, because as a dedicated follower of fashion is Pride. These are very elaborate stuff that he's talking about, and also the feel of his hair against his hair. It's just a shampoo ad at one point. Alan, then Briony.
Yeah, it struck me with the triplets that were being used earlier on. That is almost like a dance rhythm in there, and I think that could be played as such.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Because it just had that sort of feel of call and response to it.
Yeah, and that might fit with a way of actually staging that. Yes, like that very much, Briony.
I know you get quite a lot of this self-exposition in these sorts of plays and stuff, but I just really loved the way the tapster came on and was like, I'm a tapster, here's a little bit about some wine. It's great.
Yes. And yes, he's witty and wise, apparently. Which presumably means he's an incredibly boring person who thinks too much of themselves. I've never met a pub landlord like that before in the past. No. Rachael, then Helen, then Elizabeth.
No, is it in Liberality and Prodigality that we just did last week, where there was a Taverner, and I don't know this the people giving into the vice-like characters to be redeemed in the end. Not that I know how this ends, but it feels like there's that sort of setup. But I feel like the ones that I've read with you guys so far, the person experiencing this sort of moralistic fall is a male character, and now we have a woman in Mary Magdalene entering into this, falling vice cycle before she goes whatever way she goes.
Yeah, we've got all sorts of parallels with especially later morality plays as well as earlier ones where this, and you're right, it's usually a boy, a young man character that is moved into that direction. Here it's Mary Magdalene, so it's something that's reasonably activated. Helen, then Elizabeth.
Yeah, as the Taverner, the thing that upset me somewhat was the wine list, because I know early modern, the Tudor wine list, because I've looked at I've got an awful lot of subjects who are merchants in the wine trade, but I was completely baffled by a lot of these. So that puts this earlier than I expected.
I say it's sort of 16th century area, though of course there might be updatings depending on so 15 to 16th century.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah,
because
it's
I don't
earlier.
think
It's definitely earlier.
It
Yeah.
certainly isn't 16th century, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it may have been copied. I'm not sure of the copying date. When the sort of latest iteration of it is, but yeah, it's definitely medieval. It's not early modern.
Because apart from Malmsey and Claret, I was lost.
There may also be. I deliberately left a lot of the spellings in place there, so there might be a gloss there that would be helpful in terms of placing that. Elizabeth.
Yeah, just to echo what Briony and Helen have just said, I was wondering where Rome was, because the Taverner talks about all these different places that the wine has come from, and he says Rome, and I thought, where on earth could that be?
I've got a modernising it as at the groin.
That's French.
Well, most of them are French. You know, we've got Gelders and of Gaul and at the groin, so they seem to be mostly French. Which again may also be to do with the direction of travel where elements of this material comes from. There's always that possibility of things coming over from France with a lot of our literature from this period. Anyway, any other thoughts before we move on?
Was our literature coming from France due to the press being more prevalent there, or because we had printing presses in England by that time, didn't we?
Well, not for this manuscript. This is largely pre-printing.
Okay.
So it may be more to do with just
manuscripts.
Just the culture of our Norman overlords. That's probably a massive exaggeration. But yes, there's definitely more influence from the continent. So it may also be other countries as well. It's something we haven't really got into yet. Rachael.
Was England on better terms with France at this time when they were importing like these manuscripts?
It's long and complicated. You know, in a sense, we've got a very strong connection with France that starts with the Norman conquests going back to 1066, and then those rulers get more anglicised as time goes on, and then it becomes a different direction of travel as some trying to that line of kings try to insert control over France, and terrible wars ensue. So yeah, it's complicated, and I'm exaggerating things for a certain level of effect. Lynn.
Also, mercantile relations sometimes carry on in a very normal way, even when political relations are extremely tense or in moments of high friction, because capitalism, you know, that merchants continue to trade even when politicians are in conflict sometimes. So.
And also, there's some, especially in a culture with, you know, where the church is all encompassing. You know, we haven't had the Reformation yet. There's an awful lot more transmission of material, especially something semi-religious material like this. So there's an awful lot of you know, cross-continental transmission of material. Maybe not in English originally as well. It might have been in Latin or other sources. So yeah, there's a lot more transmission than perhaps we give credit for, which is why I was bringing it up. But it is hard to prove because of so many gaps in the record of what's going on. Anyway, we're going to go on because I've gone massively beyond my brief there and my expertise. So yes, do feel free to check everything I've just said because yeah, might have said some bollocks there. Anyway, we return to Mary because Mary shall be in an arbour. So having sort of sauntered away from, but the devils are all lingering. It's sort of hinted there. There's seven devils keeping close to Mary at this point. So Mary shall be in an arbour, thus saying.
Ah, God be with my Valentines, my bird sweeting, my love so dear, for they be bought for a blossom of bliss. Me marvelleth sore they be not here, but I will rest in this arbour, amongst these balms of precious of priss, till some lover will appear, that me is wont to halt and kiss.
Here shall Mary lie down and sleep in the arbour. Meanwhile,
This day holy I put in remembrance, to solace my guests to my power. I have ordained a dinner of substance, my chief friends therewith to cheer. Into the seat I will appear for my guests to make purveyance. For time draweth nigh to go to dinner, and my officers be ready with this ordinance. So would to God I might have acquaintance of the prophet of true perfectness to come to my place and purveyance. It would rejoice my heart in great gladness, for the report of his high nobleness runneth in countries far and near. His preaching is of great perfectness, of right wiseness and mercy clear.
And here the Simon, who's just been talking, enters into the place, and the good angel thus saying to Mary,
Woman, woman, why art thou so unstable? Full bitterly this bliss it will be bought. Why art thou against God so variable? Why think'st thou not God made thee of naught? In sin and sorrow thou art brought. Fleshly lust is to thee full delectable. Salve for thy soul must be sought, and leave thy works vain and variable. Remember, woman, for thy poor pride, how thy soul shall lean in hell fire. Ah, remember how sorrowful it is to abide without an end in anger and ire. Remember thee on mercy, make thy soul clear. I am the ghost of goodness that so would thee guide.
Ah, how the spirit of goodness hath prompted me this tide, and tempted me with title of true perfectness. Alas, how bitterness in my heart doth abide. I am wounded with works of great distress. Ah, how pensiveness putteth me to oppress, that I have sinned on every side. O Lord, woe shall put me from this painfulness. Ah, who shall to mercy be my ghostly guide? I shall pursue the prophet whereso he be, for he is the well of perfect charity. Be the oil of mercy, he shall me release. With sweet balms I will seek him this sith, and sadly follow his lordship in each degree.
Here shall enter the prophet with his disciples, thus saying Simon the leper.
Now ye be welcome, master most of magnificence. I beseech you benignly, ye will be so gracious, if that it be liking unto your high presence this day to come din at my house.
God a mercy, Simon, that thou wilt me know. I will enter thy house with peace and unity. I am glad for to rest there grace ginneth grow. For within my house shall rest charity, and the beams of grace shall be illuminous. But sith thou wittest staff a dinner on me, with peace and grace I entry thy house.
I thank you, master most benign and gracious, that you will of your high sovereignty. To me it is a joy most specious within my house that I may you see. Now sit to the board, masters all.
Here shall Mary follow along with this lamentation.
Oh, I, cursed caitiff that much woe hath wrought against my Maker, of mights most, I have offended him with deed and thought, but in his grace is all my trust, or else I know well I am but lost. Body and soul damned perpetual, yet, good Lord of Lords, my hope is perennial, with thee to stand in grace and favour to see. Thou knowest my heart and thought in especial. Therefore, good Lord, after my heart reward me.
And here shall Mary wash the feet of the prophet with the tears of her eyes, wiping him with her hair, and then anointing him with a precious ointment. Jesus says,
Simon, I thank thee specially for this great repast that here hath been. But Simon, I tell thee factually, I have things to say unto thee.
Master, what your will be, and it please you, I well you hear. Saith your liking unto me, and all the pleasant of your mind and desire.
Simon, there was a man in this present life, the which had to debtors well sure, the which were poor and might make no restorative, but still in their debt did endure. The one out him 150 pence full sure, and the other 50, so befell the chance. And because he could not his money recure, they asked him for forgiveness, and he forgave in substance. But Simon, I pray thee, answer me to this sentence. Which of these two persons was most beholden to that man?
Master, and it please your hey presence, he that most out him as my reason give can.
Recte judicasti, thou art a wise man, and this question hast dempte truly. If thou in thy conscience remember can, ye to be the debtors that I of specify. But Simon, behold this woman in all wise, how she with tears of her bitter weeping, she washeth my feet and doth me service, and anointeth him with ointments lowly kneeling. And with her hair fair and bright shinning, she wipeth him again with good intent. But Simon, sith that I entered thy house, to wash my feet thou didst not apply, nor to wipe my feet thou were not so favorous. Wherefore in thy conscience thou oughtest not to reply. But woman, I say to thee verily, I forgive thee thy wretchedness, and whole in soul be thou made thereby.
Oh, blessed be thou, Lord of everlasting life, and blessed be thy birth of that pure virgin. Blessed be thou, repast contemplative, against my sickness, health, and medicine. And for that I have sinned in the sin of pride, I will inhabit me with humility. Against wrath and envy I will divide these fair virtues, patience, and charity.
Woman, in contrition thou art expert, and in thy soul hast inward might, that sometime were in desert, and from darkness hast purchased light. Thy faith hath saved thee and made thee bright. Therefore I say to thee, vade in pace.
With this word 7 devils shall devoid from the woman, and the bad angel enter into hell with thunder.
O thou, glorious Lord, this rehearsed for my sped, soul health at this time for to recure. Lord, for that I was in one hope, now stand I in dread, but that thy great mercy with me may endure. My thought thou knewest withouten any doubt. Now may I trust the teaching of Isaiah in the scripture, whose report of thy nobleness runneth far about.
Blessed be they at all time that seen me not and have me in credence. With contrition thou hast made a recompense, thy soul to save from all distress. Beware and keep thee from all negligence, and after thou shalt be partner of my bliss.
Here devoideth as Jesus with his disciples, the good angel rejoicing of Magdalene.
Holy God, the highest of omnipotency, the estate of good governance to thee I recommend, humbly beseeching thine imperial glory, in thy divine virtue us to comprehend. And, delectable Jesu, sovereign sapience, our faith we recommend unto your pure pity, most meekly praying to your holy appearance, illumine our ignorance with your divinity. Ye be clept redemption, soul's defence, which shall be obscured by thy blessed mortality. O Lux Vera, grant us your lucence, that with spirit of ever I not seduced be, and Spiritus Alme, to you most benign, 3 persons in Trinity, and on God etern, most lowly our faith we consign, that we may come to your bliss glorified from malign, and with your ghostly bread to feed us we desire.
Out, out, and harrow! I am hampered with hate. In haste will I set our judgment to see. With these beetle-browed bitches I am at debate. How, Belphagor and Beelzebub, come up here to me.
And here appeareth 2 devils before the master.
Here, Lord, here, what will ye?
The judgment of harlots here to see, setting in judicial like estate. How, thou bad angel, appear before my grace.
Flat as fox, I fall before your face.
Thou thief, why hast thou done all this trespass to let yon woman thy bonds break?
The spirit of grace sore did her smith, and tempted so sore that hypocrite.
Yeah, this hard bales on thy buttocks shall bite. In haste on thee I will be wreck. Come up, ye horsens, and score away the itch, and with this pain ye do him pitch. Come off, ye harlots, that it were done.
And here shall they serve all the 7 as they do the first.
Now have I a part of my desire. Go into this house, ye lordans here, and look ye set it on a fire, and that shall him awake.
Here shall the t'other devil set the house on fire and make a sort, and Mary shall go to Lazarus and to Martha.
So, now have we well afraid these felons false? They be blazed both body and halls. Now to hell let us sink all to our fellows black.
Yes, so Satan's management style here is if you failed, I'm going to lock you away and set fire to the building. That seems to be what's going on there. So I'm sure many management consultants would like to be able to suggest such things in other contexts. But that's Satan's when things go wrong. So the demons are all cast out of Mary. It's really interesting. I like the idea that Mary is literally surrounded by this sort of movement work going on with Mary surrounded by demons that were then cast aside. It's fascinating that Mary's doing all this stuff with the wiping of the feet and the anointing of the feet, and Jesus is just continuing this conversation with Simon and her. They just don't reference this thing that's going on at all until about a few paragraphs down. It's just going, that thing about the feet that was happening just now that nobody talked about. It's really interesting. Briony.
Yes, there's a couple of things. First off, I'm really, really interested about fire, because fire is not easy to do realistically on a stage without fire. So I don't know. I hope they actually did burn something. That sounds quite fun. But also, back to the foot washing bit. Did I read it right that Simon was in a little bit of trouble for not having washed my? Sorry, Jesus. Disclaimer there for everybody. So was he in a bit of trouble for not having washed Jesus' feet when he first came in?
Yeah. Helen, I think, would like to address that. Oh, I've lost sound from Helen. I've lost sound. Somebody else speak, because Brian.
Hello.
Yes, okay, I've definitely got sound. It just seems we've lost Helen briefly there. Broadly speaking, yes, is the answer there, Briony, while we try and get Helen back. I don't know what's gone wrong there. Other thoughts from the room? We'll come back to you in a moment, Helen. Go to Lois, then Elizabeth.
That really is a paraphrase of the biblical passage. I mean, Jesus actually does say to Simon, you didn't welcome me and you didn't wash my feet, and this woman has done it, and so that's why her sins are being forgiven her.
And it's interesting that the way this is all being framed. We've been following Mary, and then it's like, and Jesus stuff is happening at the same time. And of course, that's from the very beginning when you've got people saying this Jesus dude's a bit of a problem. We don't like him, and that's going all the way up to the top. And so it's the way Mary just sort of encounters Jesus and all the disciples. Remember, all the disciples are apparently on. They haven't said a word, but they're all there. So there's a lot of visual stuff going on. Just back to Briony's point about the fire. If it's outdoors, which it almost certainly is, then fire and or a lot of smoke is entirely possible. There's no particular reason why that can't happen. Smoke is straightforward. We know they definitely do smoke effects with medieval drama. Sulfur and flame and things are all possible. So yes, you get effects. Health and safety also didn't exist, so that's fine. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was just thinking of all this fire on stage, and I just thought, oh my God, that would be so impossible now. Yeah, I wanted to just say about the washing of the feet with the hair is particularly sensual. I thought it kind of, I don't know if it jarred, but I just wanted to know everyone's thoughts on that, because it just seems like a very intimate thing to do, to wipe someone's feet with your hair.
Yes. Thoughts from the room on that, Alan?
My recollection, it's extremely close to the way the story appears in the authorised version.
Yeah.
Which is years after this, but based obviously on the earlier material. But yes, there is an erotic thrill to it, I think, which is probably part of the whole point.
And we do have in other mystery plays where someone, I think it's usually Judas, says, are you sure that this is a good, this whole anointing thing is a good thing? And Jesus comes out with a not desperately convincing excuse for why it's fine that I get a foot massage, which I've never found wholly convincing actually. Helen, can we hear you?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay! Say some words, Helen.
Oh, good. I mean, the conversation has rather left the point which I was going to make, which was that, as I remember it from a long way back, the point of this story was that Simon criticized Jesus for accepting Mary accepting Mary Magdalene into the group because she was a woman of low life. And the rebuke was, well, yeah, maybe, but she's done more for me today than you have.
Lois.
Yeah, I think it depends a bit on which of the four Gospels you're reading, but certainly in one of them, it's Judas Iscariot actually says, we should have, this is terrible waste, this extremely expensive ointment that she's put on me and that should have been sold, and we could have given the money to the poor. And then Jesus says, well, it's actually anointing me for my burial. I think this may be from a version which is actually placed later in the story anyway, or there are others where he just says you have the poor always with you, but you don't always have me. I mean, there are various versions of the thing.
Briony, did I see a wave earlier, or did I imagine that? I imagine that. Lynn.
Was one, it's gone.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to respond to Elizabeth's observation. Is there something really erotic about that moment when Mary Magdalene uses her body to wash his feet? Yeah, I mean, there was something very erotic about certain versions of Christianity. I mean, before Santa Teresa de Avila, but if you think of that sculpture of Saint Teresa of Avila in her ecstasy, I mean, come on. Yeah, so I mean, I think if I were a Freudian psychiatrist, I would say yes. I mean, that religion is kind of displacing erotic energy into something that's more easily controlled socially. But yeah, the eroticism is absolutely there.
Right, I'll go to Rachael, then Briony, then we will move on. Sorry, Eric.
No, I didn't mean to do that.
What Elizabeth was saying, I think this tells us something about the state of Mary Magdalene's dress, that she doesn't have a head covering. I don't know how common head covering was in the the period that this play was written, or perhaps maybe in the time that this canon story is supposed to be, it's more common. And also just how the scene a couple scenes before, we had her with pride, and that if she's wiping his feet with her hair, she's bowing down to him in supplication. And there is kind of that I don't know, not debasing of pride, but leaving her pride behind by bowing her head to this man.
Briony.
Yeah, it was just to agree with what Elizabeth had said, and that the intimacy and eroticism of the moment is what, for me, made it so awkward. That firstly, that they're just sat having a chat while it's going on, as it's not, and then secondly, that he says to Simon, "You should have done that."
Okay, we've got a reasonable amount of text to get through as we now pivot to what's going on with Lazarus. So, Mary Magdalene, Martha, Lazarus on stage in some space here now.
O brother, my heart's consolation, O blessed in life and solitary, the blessed prophet, my comfortation, he hath made me clean and delectary, the which was to sin a subjectary. This king, Christ, considered his creation. I was drenching in sin diversary, till that Lord relieved me by his domination. Grace to me he would never deny. Thou, I were never so sinful, he said. Oh, I, sinful creature, to grace I will apply. The oil of mercy hath healed mine infirmity.
Now worshipped be that he named Jesu, that the which in Latin is called Savior, fulfilling that word even of due to all sinful and seek, he is succor.
Sister, you be welcome unto your tower. Glad in heart of your obeisance, while that I live, I will serve him with honor, that ye have forsaken sin and variance.
Christ, that is the light and the clear day. He hath incurred the darkness of the cloudy night, of light delusions and light veray, whose preaching to us is a gracious light. Lord, we beseech thee, as thou art most of might, out of the dead sleep of darkness, defend us, aye. Give us grace ever to rest in light, in quiet and in peace to serve thee night and day.
And here shall Lazarus take his death, thus saying.
Help, sisters, for charity. Alas, death is set in my heart. Lay on hands, where are ye? For I falter and fall. I wax all uncourse. I boom above. I wax all swart. Good Jesu, thou be my guide. I no longer now I revert. I yield up the ghost. I may not abide.
Oh, good brother, take comfort and might, and let none heaviness in your heart abide. Let away all this faintness and fright, and we shall get you leeches your pains to divide.
I sit in sorrow and say, alas, this sorrow is a point to be my confusion. Gentle sister, hie we from this place, for the prophet to him hath great delectation. Good brother, take some confortation, for we will go to seek your cure.
Here goeth Mary and Martha, and meet with Jesus, thus saying. I'll suggest that in theory it's both Mary Magdalene and Martha simultaneously, but I suggest that the first four lines could be Mary Magdalene, the second four lines could be Martha. Let's split it up that way.
O Lord Jesu, our mellifluous sweetness, thou art greatest Lord in glory. Lover to thee, Lord, in all lowliness. Comfort thy creature that to thee cry.
Behold your lover, good Lord, specially how Lazarus light seek in great distress. He is thy lover, Lord, surely. Unbind him, good Lord, of his heaviness.
Of all infirmity there is none to death, for of all pains that is impossible to understand by reason, to know the work, the joy that is in Jerusalem heavenly, can never be compiled by cunning of clerk, to see the joys of the Father in glory, the joys of the Son which out to be magnified, and of the third person, the Holy Ghost truly, and all three but on in heaven glorified. Now, women that are in my presence here, of my words take advisement, Go home again to your brother Lazarus. My grace to him shall be sent.
Oh, thou glorious Lord, here present, we yield to thee salutation. In our ways we be expedient. Now, Lord, us defend from tribulation.
Here goeth Mary and Martha homeward, and Jesus devoideth the space.
And woo I water as waves in the wind, away is went all my succour. Ah, death, death, thou art unkind. Ah, now bursteth mine heart, this is a sharp shower. Farewell, my sisters, my bodily health.
And mortis est, he dies.
Jesu, my Lord, be your succour, and he must be your ghost's wealth.
God's grace might be his governor, in joy everlasting for to be.
Among all good souls send him favor, as thy power is most of dignity.
Now, sin the chance is fallen so that death hath drawn him down this day, we must needs our endeavors do to the earth to bring him without delay.
At the use is now, and hath thine a, with weepers to the earth you him bring. All this must be done as I you say, clad in black without leasing.
Gracious ladies of great honour, this people is come here in your sight, weeping and wailing with great dolour because of my Lord's death.
Here the one knight makes ready the stone, and the others bring in the weepers arrayed in black.
Now, good friends that here be, take up this body with goodwill, and lay it in his sepulchre, seemly to see. Good Lord, him save from all manner ill.
And they lay him in. Here all the people resort to the castle, thus saying Jesus.
Time is coming of very cognition. My disciples goeth with me, for to fulfill possible petition. Go we together into Jude, where Lazarus my friend is he. Go we together as children of light, and from grievous sleep save him will we.
Lord, it please your mighty volunty, though he sleep, he may be saved by skill.
That is true, and be possibility. Therefore of my death show you I will. My Father of Nemeus charity sent me his Son to make redemption, which was conceived by pure virginity, and so in my mother had clear incarnation. And therefore must I suffer grievous passion under Pontius Pilate with great perplexity, beaten, bobbed, scorned, crowned with thorn. All this shall be the sufferance of my deity. I therefore hastily follow me now, for Lazarus is dead, verily to prove. Wherefore I am joyful, I say unto you, that I knowledge you therewith, that ye may it believe.
Here shall Jesus come with his disciples, and on the Jew telleth Martha.
Ah, Martha, Martha, be full of gladness, for the prophet is coming, I say truly. With his disciples in great lowliness, he shall give comfort with his mercy.
Here Martha shall run again to Jesus, thus saying,
Ah, Lord, me, simple creature, not deny, though I be wrapped in wretchedness. Lord, and thou hast been here, verily. My brother had not been dead, I know well this.
Martha, daughter, unto thee I say, thy brother shall rise again.
Ye, Lord, at the last day, that I believe full plain.
I am the resurrection of life that ever shall reign, and whoso believeth verily in me shall have life everlasting. The sooth to say, Martha, believest thou this?
Yea, forsooth, the Prince of Bliss. I believe in Christ, the Son of Sapience, which without an end reign shall he, to redeem us frail from our iniquity.
Here Mary shall fall to Jesus, thus saying Mary.
O thou right-wise regent, reigning in equity, thou gracious Lord, thou sweet Jesus, and thou hadst been here, my brother alive had be. Good Lord, mine heart doth this discuss.
Where have you put him? Say me this.
In his monument, Lord, is he.
To that place ye me wis. That grave I desire to see. Take off the stone of this monument. The agreement of grace here shown I will.
Ah, Lord, your precept fulfilled shall be. This stone I remove with glad cheer. Gracious Lord, I ask thee mercy. Thy will mote be fulfilled here.
Here shall Martha put off the gravestone.
Now, Father, I beseech thine high paternity, that my prayer be resoundable to thy fatherhood in glory, to open thine ears to thy Son in humanity, not only for me, but for thy people verily, that they may believe and betake to thy mercy. Father, for them I make supplication. Gracious Father, grant me my boon. Lazar, come hither to me.
Here shall Lazarus arise, trussed in towels in a sheet.
Ah, my Maker, my Saviour, blessed mote thou be. Here men may know thy works of wonder. Lord, nothing is impossible to thee, for my body and my soul was departed asunder. I should have rotted as doth the tinder. Flesh from the bones are consumed away. Now is aloft late was under. The goodness of God hath done for me here, for he is boat of all bales to unbind, that blessed Lord that here did appear.
And here all the people and the Jews, Mary and Martha, with one voice say these words.
We believe in you, Saviour, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Of your good heart I have adverations, wherethrough in soul whole made ye be. Betwixt you and me be never variations. Wherefore I say, Vade in pace.
And here devoideth Jesus with his disciples. Mary and Martha and Lazarus go home to the castle. And here we're just going to introduce something completely different. Here beginneth the king of Marseille, his boast.
Avaunt thee, unworthy wretches! Why lout ye not low to my laudable presence? Ye brawling breels and blabber-lipped bitches, obediently to obey me without offence. I am a sovereign seemly that ye see but seld. None such under sun the sooth for to say. When I fare freshly and fierce to the field, my foemen flee for fear of my fray. Even as an emperor I am honoured, aye. When banner gin to blast and beams gin to blow, head am I highest of all heathenness hold. Both kings and kaisers I will they shall me know, or else they buy the bargain that ever they were so bold. I am king of Marseille, tales to be told. Thus I would it were known far and near. Ho, say contrarily, I cast him in cares cold, and he shall buy the bargain wonder dear. I have a favorous food and fresh as the falcon. She is full fair in her femininity. When I look on this lady, I am lusty as the lion in my sight. Of delicity most delicious, of fellowship most felicious, of all foods most favorous. O my bliss in beauteous bright.
Oh, of conditions and most honorable. Lowly, I thank you for this recommendation. The bountiest and the boldest under banner bright, no creature so coruscant to my consolation. When the regent be resident, it is my reflection. Your delectable deeds divideth me from diversity. In my person I provide to put me from pollution. To be pleasant to your person, it is my prosperity.
Now, God a mercy, beryl brightest, God a mercy, ruby, ruddy as the rose. Ye be so pleasant to my pay, ye put me from pain. Now, comely knights, look that ye forth dress both spices and wine here in haste.
And here shall the knights get spices and wine, and here shall enter a devil in horrible array, thus saying.
Oh, is that me?
Mm.
Out! Out! Hurroo! I may cry and yell, for lost is all our labor, wherefore I say, alas! For of all holds that ever hurt, none so as hell. Our bars of iron are all to brost, strong gates of brass. The King of Joy entered in thereat, as bright as fires blaze. For fray of his fearful banner, our fellowship fled asunder. When he touched it with his touching, they brast as any glass, and rove asunder as it been with thunder. Now are we thrall that first were free by the passion of his manhood. On a cross on high hanged was he, which hath destroyed our labor and all our deed. He hath lightened limbo and to paradise yede. That wonderful worked us rake. Adam and Abram and all our kindred out of our prison to joy where they take. All this hath been wrought sin Friday at noon, brosten down our gates that hanged were full high. Now is he risen, his resurrection is done, and is proceeded into Galilee. With many a temptation we touched him to array, to try whether he was God or none. Yet for all our busyness, bleared is our eye, for with his wild work he hath won him, ever he won. Now for the time to come, there shall none fall to our chance but at his deliverance, and weighed by rightful balance, and given by rightful doom. I tell you all, in fine, to hell will I go.
And here shall enter the three Marys arrayed as chaste women with signs of the passion printed upon their breast. But we're not going to get that far today. Yes, I deliberately let us run on. The unit of action we would logically stop at is at the end of Lazarus being risen, and Mary and Martha and Lazarus going home, and everything being alright with the world. We're pivoting at this point in the play to the next phase of the action. So we're introduced to the King and Queen, who we will have much more to do with next time. And we also have a devil filling us in as to what's going on with the wider world. And it's really interesting that it's like we're dipping into Jesus's life, but only via what is sort of necessary and sort of Magdalene centric. So how jarring all this is perhaps something we can answer better tomorrow when we read the rest of the play. But yeah, just thoughts in the room now about Lazarus and also where we're going with King and Queen. Briony.
I really like what they've just done with the tone shift there, because you started off with this really big theatrical business at the beginning with the three platforms and all of that, and then it's kind of come in a bit to this somber religious like feeling. It's a lot more serious and a bit less pizzazz, and then these guys have just come back in and knocked it back out of the park with these amazing speeches with all the alliteration and just wow. I think the audience has just been woken up with a jolt again. Brilliant.
Rachael.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what is a panto like? Is for some of these kings, are they? I feel like they're really working the audience and they're really playing with them, and maybe possibly clown. You would get your clowns for this to play them up or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it says in the stage direction, here beginneth the king's boast, his boast, and that is a thing that people do. That's what the Herod does. This is what the emperor, etc. They were all doing at the beginning, and it's it's this big flamboyant speech about how great they are. And also in this point of how much he liked. I look on this lady, I'm lusty as the lion. So he's the king and queen quite into each other, it seems. Lynn, then Briony.
Yes, pride and boasting seem to be a theme. We start out with the emperor and we have a glance at Herod, and then we kind of forget about them. They don't seem to figure after that. So maybe they are thematically important. But it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this goes. If it sticks with the bad guys are prideful. That's their salient characteristic. So that's interesting. Different cultures and different times find different sins more problematic or more harmful than others. And this text seems to be putting a lot of emphasis on the sin of pride.
Yeah, pride is what all of these outside figures are into, whereas Magdalene was brought in by lechery and alcohol, and pride as well. With pride as well. So yeah, it's pride's doing a lot of the legwork there. Helen.
Yeah, I was really startled by the king. He seemed to be very much Herod with a little added lust, as you pointed out, but without the anger management issues. So on the whole, an extraordinarily effective. I mean, what Rachael was saying about it being a clownish, I don't necessarily see it as clownish, but I would not be surprised if the audience didn't boo.
And it's interesting what that character is there to do later on as well, which you'll find out more about tomorrow. And also what we're expected, our reactions are supposed to be to the Emperor, Herod, Pilate, etc., who also we may see again. It may not be the end for them. Lois.
I just wondered whether the author knew how big Marseille was compared with the whole of the Roman Empire. I mean, we start out with somebody who really owns pretty much the whole of the known world, and then we've now got somebody, and I'm the king of Marseille. I mean, maybe it was a territory and not just a city then, but it does seem a bit funny.
Alan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, in a modern production, I think you could put an interval in if you decide you want, but this here, the knights get the spices and wine, and then the devil's little rant there would make a good Act 2 opener.
Well, it's difficult because of the way it all pivots and it all overlaps. It is, you might want to go before the king, but then you might also want to go after the crucifixion material is over. It's a difficult play to pass for a single interval setup. It's the repetition of the spices and the wine, though. Again, we're having that back in. Briony, I think I saw waving. I also saw Eric. So Briony, then Eric.
Yeah, just a really quick point. Just that the king and queen, and when we read that bit, really super put me in mind of the ridiculous king and queen in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Just because they're such big, I don't know, something about it reminded me of that.
Eric.
I was going to say that it's interesting that you get the crucifixion off stage. It doesn't, because you'd think that, Jesus would upstage Mary Magdalene, but he doesn't. You get all the Lazarus business, the sort of resurrection, and then that is echoed basically by Jesus' resurrection, which doesn't happen on stage.
Well, we may see him later. He may pop back again. You did get the impression in this that Jesus is that this is a spin-off, and it's like whenever the spin-offs happen, someone from the original series cast pops in, and Jesus has that feeling here of and it's yay, but he's not there too often. I'm being a little facile there. I'll move on. Alan.
I must admit that so far the king and queen of Marseille are reminding me of the Thénardier in the Glums. That they're almost a comedy act to lighten the whole thing up a bit.
We'll see where they go next time. There's they may have a journey. They may not. Elizabeth.
Yeah, Rob, I was just thinking about Jesus being in this unit of action, and the fact that he's not supposed to be around when Lazarus dies. I just thought that he was close by them for most of that scene. And then Martha says to him, "Oh, if you had been here, my brother wouldn't have died." But he was there.
No, he wasn't.
I think that's one of the problems with trying to decipher this text is he's on a stage. I don't think he's in that stage. I think there are separate areas, and that he then travels between them, of which we've got clues. But just by reading the text one bit after another, we're not getting that journeying between spaces. But I think it's a really good point to flag up.
He's not there in the exact moment because Lois said he's not there. He's not there when Lazarus dies, but he's not far away.
He's not physically far away, but he may be giving the impression he's. I mean, what I love is that everyone who's going to die, before they die, you have a stage where they're going to take their death. And it's like they get their death scene now, and it's like someone makes their boast that taking your death is a thing, that it's a thing you put into plays, and that it might take a while. And Lazarus takes a while to die.
He does.
Eric,
I was going to say that it's interesting how his scene basically echoes his father's scene, which is kind of like, within a few short scenes we've had a short amount of time. Obviously there's a lot of physical shenanigans, he's kind of like the two women of the house have lost their main providers. I'm assuming, I don't know.
It seems like the inheritance is pretty. You could probably live off it. You get that impression. They seem quite well to do. They talk about poverty, but in terms of that they are very humble. But you don't get the impression that they're going to be short of a loaf of bread anytime soon. They've got a castle. I'm sure the castle is mostly symbolic, but it also seems to be quite literal. We're not going to go into final thoughts in sense of going around the room, so throw in any final thoughts at me as we've got a few minutes left because we had a lot of text to get through today. Lynn, were you waving? Or you just your hand was just in the general area. There's a lot of repetition. There's a lot of use of space. There's all sorts of things going on in this text. We're very familiar with quite a lot of it so far. So it sort of seems to me, it feels very best bits of, but also tying Magdalene's narrative together. Within all the other biblical stuff that we normally focus on. We're getting a backstory. We find out who she's related to, which doesn't necessarily quite match other accounts. The precise family relationship between who and who and who, and how they all fall together. It's that thing that extended universes do. They go, well, there's gaps in the narrative, so let's fill them in. Other thoughts. Sorry, I was just vamping there to see if other people wanted to step in. Eric.
Yeah, it makes a nice change from them going, yes, Jesus, isn't he wonderful? I mean, he is, but he's kind of like not the main character here, so yeah.
Well, in a sense, everybody is talking about him a lot, even when he's not on. And we haven't even touched upon sort of what the play is saying about Mary and what the play is saying as a wider thing, which maybe we'll get into more next time. Rachael.
No, I wonder if this character, this playwright chose this character because it would give them more leeway, because there's something a little more lighthearted about this than some of the other morality plays that we've gone into. There's more comedy bits. And if that wouldn't be as accepted in a morality play focused on Jesus or something like that, or I don't know. What I mean is, like, because we're around the time of the Passion, but there's still joy and levity in this one, where usually it's pretty extreme and sad.
Well, I think that's connected to time, isn't it? Because the Passion is happening somewhere else and that we've passed it by. It's happened almost without us noticing it. It's become past tense straight away. But yes, you're able to play around with tones. It's a lot easier to do if you're not in the middle of a crucifixion. And what the way time is being used here, it's rushing by. Helen.
I think it's quite interesting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. I had a little notice saying you couldn't. I think it's quite interesting that the Mary Magdalene's sin comes entirely from external influence on her, which absolves her to an extent of the fault, because it isn't a character flaw in her. It's that she was imposed on from outside and then released from it.
And it speaks to its staging as well. That this is something physically expressed by demons staying around her, and all these visual things that there's some good stage directions in this, and we haven't lingered on them enough. The whole thing about the stone burying the body, bringing the weepers arrayed in black. There's a whole professional mourner class coming on doing wailing here. This is quite elaborate. We have all these disciples. Okay, they've only said literally 2 lines in unison, but in theory there's a lot of bodies moving about here. It's doing a lot of work. Elizabeth.
Yes, Rob, just speaking to what you were saying, is it Martha that rolls away the stone? I thought that was quite interesting, because I thought the stone would be massive.
Yeah, because she can't roll away she's worried about not being able to roll away the stone, and then there are 2 of them. And they say they can't roll away the stone because it's too heavy. But Lazarus, she's, 1 finger and it's off.
Yeah.
On the other hand, she could just sort of wave her hand and half a dozen servants start forward and do it for
her. Briony.
You would think it would be gentlemanly for Jesus to offer, though.
Maybe he gives her the power. Maybe that's the logic there. That's how the stone is moved. Fire, demons, boasting, death. It's got all the things. Any other thoughts from the room? Briony again.
Just that, like you say, it's got everything. There's room to make this a real spectacular theatrical performance.
Okay. Next time, we've got even more text to get through next time. I'm hoping we can get through it and still have time to discuss it properly. But next time, we're going to definitely expand upon the king and the queen that we have met briefly here, as we step out of the explicitly biblical narrative into additional material. Eric?
Yeah, I had forgotten what I wanted to say, then I remembered. So yes.
Excellent.
Before we go, basically, I found it interesting that the thing that Lechery does, and the devils and sort of Sin's vice characters do, is that they push Mary to leave the castle and go to Jerusalem. So basically, like, going to the big city is a bad thing. I don't know. I just found that interesting as a, well, maybe not a message, but yeah, just there.
Lois.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, this is probably all in the Golden Legend or somewhere, but somebody has put together a lot of different bits in the Bible. I mean, there's a woman out of whom Jesus has cast 7 devils, and there's the woman who washes his feet and dries them with her hair. I mean, there's not necessarily the same one. And then, then there are Mary and Martha's sisters in Bethany. And if they're in Bethany, then how does this woman get to Jerusalem to wash his feet? So clearly that must be why they tempt her to go to Jerusalem, because he says, I mean, it's interesting that we don't really see Mary leading the sort of lascivious life that the men in this type of play usually lead when they succumb to the deadly sins. We may get more of it later, but so far we've just had her, in her arborist talking about how she enjoys all these men. But we don't, and we see her very briefly dancing. I think we're supposed to see her dancing with pride. I mean, that could be quite effective, and the dance could go on for some time, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm also wondering about the size of this.
Oh no, carry on. We've got a bit of a lag.
I mean, sorry. Well, I just wondered about the size of the cast, because it does seem like a cast of thousands with the mourners, the disciples, and so on. I mean, surely even if this was a traveling company, they couldn't have had that many people in it. I wonder but it seems also rather big for a local amateur production. I wonder if it's a mixture of the two, maybe. They use some local people everywhere they went, or I don't know, if they had this permanent set, then maybe the play was only done in the places that could do it.
Well, I mean, in that sense, it sort of fits within the logic of the kind of alternative large-scale event that you would have, as opposed to doing a full mystery cycle. You do something big and bold like this, in the same way that Castle of Severance feels like that. It's not as long a text as Castle of Severance. It's a shorter play. But yes, you're right. It does seem to require a lot of bodies, though the number of people who are technically speaking could be a lot smaller. You know, all of those demons, etc., could double quite extensively because they're probably wearing masks, so they could turn around and be other people relatively effectively. But still, once you start getting to those supernumeraries, you're going to have a lot of people to manage. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, my thought was that, in fact, the number of extras could actually be used as a revenue raiser. Because if you get those people to pay a contribution, that could go some way to defraying the cost of maybe the leads and the staging.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've got to be careful about how we're talking about the distinction between amateur and professional in a medieval context about whether anyone is getting paid per se, even if they are. It's tricky, and I think we shouldn't linger too much on that. It's a big thing, and yeah, we might go down rabbit holes there. So that's all we have time for this play. We will return to it next time. But till then, all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers today for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Bye.
As flat as fox I fall before your face.